I'm wondering if the Minnesota Vikings made a mistake giving up Sam Darnold. Then we got to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr., who has been Dropperton, and a lot of people are calling him a bust. In this Russell Wilson conversation that's going around, people saying Russell Wilson is playing himself out of the Hall of Fame. And it was crazy to see his old teammate, Richard Sherman, bash him. Let's talk about the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL so far, just based on performance this season. And then we've got perhaps the greatest slate of college football games this weekend in history. And if you or anybody you know is having a wedding this weekend, you should at least have TVs at your reception. We're going to talk about those games as well. All right, well, let's start off with Thursday Night Football. It was boring in the first quarter.
Oh my gosh.
And then all of a sudden, Kyler Murray stopped thinking about Call of Duty and brought his team back, tied it up in the fourth quarter. Yeah, this is actually a great way of depicting the game. All right, I do want to talk more about Sam Darnold, but what do you make of the Marvin Harrison Jr. stuff? Because he has been, like I said, Dropperton, including this one, I believe. Yeah, this one drop pass that turned into an interception. Here it is. And Scott, this comes to your argument all the time that if a pass hits a receiver in the hands, this should not count as an interception for the quarterback. Let's take a look at it. Hold on.
Murray throws, juggled, and intercepted. Harrison couldn't hold on.
Just like bobbled right out of his hands. And this has been a problem for him. People are saying he's a bust. He did, however, kind of redeem himself because I think he ended up having a really nice touchdown catch. So I pull it up here. But hold on, before I go to touchdown catch, like he also had stuff like this where he like stops. Yeah, the other pick. Mid-route stops running the route. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What do you make of this?
That right there, it's so clear, and I think on the broadcast they were pretty vocal about it too, especially after these things where it's so clear that Harrison Jr. and Kyler are just not on the same page yet. And I don't know what's going on, if it's a relationship thing between the two of them, that they're not clicking, but clearly it looks like Marvin, you could chalk this up to effort, right? But he also, you could see by the way he started breaking down right there, he was thinking about sitting because he felt the safety, or he didn't realize that the safety was sitting back as opposed to coming down. So like he made that call and Kyler made the other. And so that's just a pure example of them just not having that sort of symbiotic relationship, reading each other's minds in the same way that we saw the greats of old, Tom Brady and Randy Moss and Tom, and then all the little tiny white guys skirting around the field. So like that's like what's going on here. And it's a younger player with a still developing quarterback in Kyler. So it's just like kind of the worst combination. I would not call Marvin Harrison Jr. a bust whatsoever. That guy is a freak of nature, and his hands akin to his father's. Like the dude was trained by one of the best to ever play the game. And it definitely showed during college, and it showed definitely in spurts last year with the Cardinals. And even in that touchdown pass, like the guy has this skill. It's about just getting on the same page with your quarterback. And that's just been a problem with the Cardinals in general though.
He didn't even make a decision. It's not like he chose to sit and just misread.
Sure.
He was caught in just this lazy, undecidedness. And on top of that, you don't even have your mouthpiece in. It contributes to the whole mindset. It's like, I'm not really fully prepared or fully invested in this play anyways. Well, maybe I'll sit it. Maybe I'll go here. It leaks into everything.
I am so sick of wide receivers not having their mouthpiece in. But like here, Scott, okay, your argument of them not being on the same page, if that's the case, yes, which it is, of course, at least in some cases that is the case. But this one here, it doesn't to me look like he's like, oh, I'm about to break it out and it's a miscommunication. To me, that looks like laziness because like, I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. needs this many steps to break out. Like that does not look athletic. Does not look like a move he's making. It looks like he just gave up on the route. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just more of to Mikey's point about it being an indecision. He was starting to make a decision, and as his eyes got to the ball and saw where it was going, he tried to correct himself physically in doing it. So I don't think it's laziness whatsoever. I think getting off the ball, you would have noticed the laziness before anything else. Like that's why I say a guy. Like looking at what he's done to this point in his career, his college career and into the NFL, he's not a guy that you would chalk this up to being lazy. He's like one of those psycho focused dudes that's out there training all the time and doing all of this stuff. So that's why I say I think this might be more of a relationship thing. And I don't know if anybody's willing to just go out there and be lazy and sacrifice their career. Granted, it does seep in. We've seen it happen. I mean, we even talked about Ashton Genty and picking up blocks in the backfield and everything like that. I just, for some reason, I don't get the sense that this is as much on Marvin as it is between the two of them. Like, I think there needs to be more responsibility taken upon even Kyler in this than just Marvin. Granted, some of the drops, bad. Like,
drops are bad.
I have no excuse for that.
Yeah, drops are really, really bad. But I think that there is a good point in there also that, like, Kyler Murray, not necessarily thought of as like the most bought in quarterback. I mean, there was that whole thing about him with the video games and the clause in his contract and stuff. And
FaZe Clan.
Yeah, FaZe Clan. He has a YouTube.
What is that?
channel.
William, what was that clause in his contract for his video
I don't
game?
even, like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was something like brought up about video game. Like, he can't play video games during the. I don't know what it was.
It was he had to document when he was watching film and everything like that to make sure that he was doing so, as opposed to like doing other extracurriculars that people were warned about. There was a huge backlash to that. Like, people were like, "Hey, wait a minute, why is this being put upon him?" You know, obviously this got into other conversations as to why and the speculation as to why, but people were getting mad about this because it hadn't been put into any other QB's contract prior to that, and it's like, well, it probably should be put into every contract, like, but it's also an expectation of your profession. Like, that's almost something that doesn't even need to be said.
Yeah,
you should never, as an organization, you should never be in a position where you're trying to motivate your quarterback to want to get better more than he is self-motivated. That is not a leader of an organization. Because we've hired him to spend at least 4 hours per week studying game film. 4 hours per week is nothing. That's like the amount of practice time when you're playing trumpet in a middle school band and you have to get the practice hours signed off by your mom. That's the same thing here.
Yeah, and he's getting paid $55 million or whatever it is. Well, the thing is, like, Kyler Murray, he's heralded as one of the best high school players to come out of Texas. He was the number one recruit, all of this stuff. So he had success, super talented, kind of in the way that we also talk about Caleb Williams. Not to compare them too much, but I mean, just the way that we think of Kyler Murray, he doesn't seem to have that same bought-in psycho mentality that some other quarterbacks in the NFL have. And I think for a young wide receiver, rookie or second-year wide receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr. is, it's really tough to have a quarterback that's not like, hey, I'm so diehard about all of this and let's work and get on the same page. So I actually would probably extend more of the blame to Kyler in those miscommunications. Not the dropping, though. That's all on Marvin.
The drops are tough to – I've seen all the memes and everything. Like, what's he looking at? And the ball's like in his gut.
Yeah, those are funny.
Those ones those ones are tough to defend. But at the end of the day, I think it all stems from the relationship that they have, and it's clearly not super tight as it should be with two young players like this. Like, I'm surprised that they're not on the same page. But I go back to this. Look, the question marks with Kyler, right? Work ethic, all that kind of stuff. I'm only basing this off of the rumors that have been thrown out there, and they could or could not be valid. But when you get a guy who's, at least on paper and throughout his career, as I've mentioned before, like the psycho mentality that Marvin Harrison Jr. has because of his dad and putting him through the training and all that kind of stuff, and then you get a guy who may not be as committed in the same sort of way, that could be what is at the crux of this, is like Marvin Harrison just being frustrated that the dude that gets him the ball isn't as committed. But that doesn't explain him dropping balls. Like, that's where, like, if he were catching all of them, different story. And if the ball just weren't getting to him, completely different scenarios. So that's why this one's so strange.
You can also, as a receiver, and let's turn our attention to this hilarious meme, Marvin Harrison Jr. after the ball hits him right in the hands, staring at his hands. You can get we talked about the yips with some other players. You can get the yips as a receiver. You can really get in your head about, like, catching the ball. If you drop one, drop two, all of a sudden it's the same as, like, we were talking about Derrick Henry with the fumbles. And then you're so hyper-focused. I'm like, okay, I got to catch it. And then it just results in more drops. He did, however, then have this beautiful touchdown catch. I'll play it here. Kind of totally redeemed himself. Here we go.
Left. Murray Murray to the end zone, reaching up, Harrison has it. Touchdown.
Then he was emotional that he finally caught one.
Emotional.
On his knee, tearing up,
crying from the catch of
Yeah.
doing your job.
So, I mean, he still ended up the leading receiver. He's still wide receiver 1 for the Cardinals there.
Yeah.
Him and Trey McBride.
The best thing I saw coming out of this after the touchdown catch is like somebody claiming that bullying works and going after him ultimately ended up in the
He got
touchdown
bullied into final. He saw the memes, and then he finally caught a touchdown pass there. All right, let's turn our attention then to the Seahawks, though, because look, Sam Darnold, especially in downfield passing, look at that in downfield 10+ yard throws, 9 for 11, 165 yards, touchdown, 150 passer rating nearly. Do you guys think that the Vikings made a mistake? Because Darnold looked pretty darn good. He also had that awesome clutch scramble for 24 yards. And the Seahawks are sitting at 3-1 right now.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020. So easy to say yes. But I would actually say I think having this much turnover in the quarterback room, whether it be by choice or by injury, is never a good situation for your team. And when you get a guy that has a breakout season like Sam did last year, and the cohesiveness, yeah, the last 4 games there were some hiccups here and there, but the full project that he put together throughout the season was something to really hang your hat on. I think letting him out the door was a bad move, strictly because if you're truly trying to develop a young quarterback in JJ McCarthy, get a dude who's been in the league, who's been, as Baker has, as we talked about here, been through the ringer. Like Sam went through the pits of the NFL hell in New York for quite some time, and then has become a journeyman and found his way back to prominence and playing well for the Vikings. Why would you want to let a guy go who has that experience, has that wisdom, to then impart on your young dude? I always thought that the Vikings made a mistake with Kirk. They made another one with letting Sam go. And, yeah, they may have fallen back on good times with Carson Wentz, but I don't know how long that experiment's going to go positively.
Yeah, we'll see. They're playing in Dublin this weekend. Steelers Vikings in Dublin. Yeah, I mean, everyone was saying that, like, with Sam Darnold last year, that playoff game, that he just cost himself $100 million on a contract because, like, he was playing his way to just a $55 million a year contract. Yeah. Did end up getting what was the Seattle deal? It's 3 years, $100 million or so, isn't it something like that? Like,
yeah, he ended up getting paid.
Yeah, but like, not Trevor Lawrence money, not Duval money, and I always just think, like, I mean, the Vikings almost have, I don't want to say too high of expectations for themselves. It was like,
who do you think you are?
It was like, who do you think you are? Like, you're not happy with what did they win in the regular season? 14 games? Yeah, they sucked in the playoffs, but like, what else is, the grass is always greener. And now you have a rookie quarterback who's hurt, who we don't even know was good. And now you're working with Carson Wentz. It's just like, I feel like that was such a grass is always greener decision. And now Seattle's looking pretty. Yeah,
Seattle's looking great. I mean, to the point about Carson, look, that's not a guy, I think he's had way too much negative hate on him. The numbers that he put up during his tenure at Philly were MVP level stuff. And if he didn't get injured, he probably would have an MVP to his name and everything like that. So, I want to say, like, Carson, he's been somewhat reckless, but he's just a football guy, and it's a matter of just reining that in. And I think, as we've talked about before, that quarterback room, and with O'Connell at the head coaching position, we talked about the redheads and the Celtic triumvirate there. Like, them going to Dublin, there's going to be some serious magic this weekend, guys.
Ooh, look at that, Scott. You got so you thinking the Vikings over the Steelers in Dublin? Yeah. We know what happened. All right. The last thing I was going to say, I thought that Sam Darnold was a little bit older, so that would also, in my mind, like, play into Vikings don't think that he's 28. It's like, oh, dude, what? He's got 7 years left.
28.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's, man. Is that, it could have been a good long-term situation. Who knows? We'll see. But the Seattle's looking solid right now, sitting at 3-1. All right, let's talk about another, well, let's call it former Seattle Seahawks quarterback. Got run out of town. It is Russell Wilson. All right. Obviously, named the backup bench. Jackson Dart's going to be starting for New York. These guys, these broadcasters, Tony Gonzalez being one of them, were talking about Russell Wilson pregame before the Thursday night football game. And it was pretty harsh. I'm going to play it here. Got to get your thoughts.
Surfaced clip of Malik Neighbors saying that the quarterback last year with Daniel Jones wasn't the problem. So when you look at this Russell Wilson situation, Tony, he says he's got a lot more football left in him. Okay, he's going to say all the right things. Do you think we've seen the last of Russell Wilson?
Honestly, I hope we have. And I say that because I just looking at him and his career, his legacy, like you talked about, if ever there was somebody who played himself out of a Hall of Fame, it's Russell Wilson.
Really?
And I say that because look at what's happened ever since he left Seattle. When he was in Seattle, he was the man. He was making these good plays. He won a Super Bowl, went to 2 of them. But as soon as he left there, he went to Denver, signed that big old deal. They paid him $39 million to leave. He goes to Pittsburgh, plays there 1 year. He's out of there. Now he goes here and has 3 games. I just don't know if it's going to get any better. And I don't want to see him on a sideline holding a clipboard.
So you're very much under the "what have you done for me lately" thing in taking away the first, decade of his career.
Absolutely, and I just don't think he's done himself any favors since he left Seattle. And I don't know how's it going to get better. I don't know. So
yeah, I agree. I agree. I think you got to judge his career off when the Legion of Boom was there. He had a legendary defense, an all-time defense, and how much success he had. And then without that
Richard Sherman.
success he had, without that legendary defense, he's been 4-11, 7-8. 0-3 to start with the Giants.
Dang.
He was a winning football player in Seattle, and people said, hey, winning is football player, all this good stuff, all these accolades, and now you get to go on your own and you get to prove, hey, I'm this great quarterback. I'm this guy that's going to be dominant, and it just hasn't worked out that way.
Dang, that's awesome.
Richard Sherman hates Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
He hates him. He's always ripping on him. I will say, what Tony Gonzalez is saying is kind of what I've been harping on. It's like, don't overstay your welcome. You're diminishing your legacy. Like, imagine if he had just retired. I know that's not realistic to stay because everyone wants to play as long as they can, but like, he's not doing himself any favors. The way that we think about him now is much different than it would be if he had just stopped playing after Seattle. I'm 100% on Tony Gonzalez's side here, and Richard Sherman's regretfully as well. What do you think?
I think they made valid points, but I don't like the public pettiness that Richard definitely displayed here. It's very clear that he is frustrated that all the accolades weren't shone on him because of the success of Seattle. They got a lot for the Legion of Boom and everything like that. I mean, he even said it. Like, that's a lot of like patting your own back right here and taking ownership of what the offense was doing on that team of yours. Like, I don't think that's the appropriate time and way to put about this. I think his record points made more sense, but to assume that a quarterback's success is solely based off of defensive prowess is not appropriate. Because you can make that argument about a lot of quarterbacks throughout history, but you're only pinpointing him here. I don't like that a former teammate is doing this. You can have your spats, but saying it in this way is very petty in my eyes.
Well, yeah. I mean, Richard,
that he prefaced it with talking about the Legion of Boom, kind of discredited his whole thing. But everything he said after that is true and valid. Talking about, okay, this is your opportunity to go out on your own, separate from this great organization, and win. And he hasn't done it. So like all of that, like you said, the record stuff, that's a valid criticism. But just he discredited it all by trying to pat himself on the back at the beginning of the whole thing.
Yeah. It's all about me. He admitted it. What about me? That's basically what he was saying. But I mean, Sherman has been public about not liking Russell Wilson. Like, yeah. I mean, he's said a bunch of stuff on his podcast. He's had a lot of comments about it, like over the years. And then,
but I get to that point. It's like, why do you dislike him? Because I think it truly stems from you having wanted to be the guy, like the face of Seattle, and you weren't. Okay, the quarterback was, and like that's the pettiness.
I think maybe that, but also I think that Richard Sherman seems kind of more like an actual, more genuine guy, and probably more part of the camaraderie of the team. And I think, there's rumors of Russell Wilson saying of like teammates going up, "Hey, you want to do something after this?" And he goes, "Yeah, talk to my agent about my schedule." Like, he puts up this barrier. I don't know how true that is, but there's rumors of that putting up that barrier of like, I'm a superstar between him and his own teammates. So like, I think that's where a lot of the animosity comes from. A peer who was maybe a wall was put in between.
I mean, I've heard that the same thing. I've heard that rumor through a lot of NFL channels, and also like the fact that he had his own office in Denver in the facility, and then when Sean Payton came
Crazy.
in, what the hell is this? No. And so it's just those kind of things to where Richard Sherman is annoying to me. I mean, like, just I know it's an on-screen personality, but like he is petty and annoying in these certain situations. But there's something there, and Mike, I do kind of agree with you that like Richard Sherman does seem a little bit more authentic. Granted, annoying and
it's annoying, but it's in line with the DB personality. The over the top it's in line, and so.
Perfectly annoying, cocky, I'm the best corner mentality. You try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah. There's I mean, going to Tony's points too. I think it is pretty wild to say he's playing himself out of the Hall of Fame. I mean, if you look at him statistically against even an Eli Manning, who's he's not right there. He may not be first ballot, but he's Hall of Fame material. That's like it's still nuts to say, and I guess that's what Sherman was trying to point out. Is like, oh, okay, the win percentage, all that kind of stuff is due to us, the Legion of Boom. But you can't take away the offensive statistics that Russell put up. That's what I'm trying to say. Is it's like for you to claim that the defense is what won it when those statistics exist. It's like clearly they put points. He put up wins because the offense put up points. So it's hard to say. And like 2 stops that he's had, or I guess now the 3 stops that he's had ever since leaving Seattle, let's be honest, like a first-year coach, regardless of who it is, like Sean Payton, him instituting the culture that he has, which is like infamously difficult and infamously grinder sort of culture, that's not going to happen in 1 year. Like, so him being dropped in there, obviously the office thing and everything, that's going to cut hard against a guy like Sean Payton, and it did. And then secondarily, you hop over to Tomlin's, albeit like steady Eddie sort of culture and good and deep and everything like that. But when you're just hopping around in the NFL and only getting 1-year contracts, I don't think that lends toward being able to like fully feel comfortable, even if you are a Hall of Fame quality guy. Like, I think teams are putting him and have this just strange notion based off how things ended in Seattle that he's like somewhat toxic and you keep him at arm's length, as opposed to like embracing the guy. It's like, oh, you have 3 games to prove yourself and that's it. What kind of like, it's the same sort of situation as we've been talking about with players like, oh, if you don't run them with the ones, how are you ever going to get a good look at him? Like, dude, with a quarterback, you can't give him 3 games and expect him to just be all of a sudden going 3-0 and then, oh yeah, you're one of us. It's like, you got to give him way more runway than that.
I will say, I agree with that. Like with a younger quarterback, with a guy who is having a Hall of Fame career, if you're not seeing glimpses within a few games of that standard of play, then there's red flags. And it's interesting that all these teams have moved on from him so fast, and nobody is looking at him while he's in the building going, hey, this is a guy we want to keep around. And this is a guy, what we're seeing in practice. And when he's in the building, let's invest in that. Even if he's not performing right now, he's got potential.
I guess my point here is like, there have been glimpses. Like the way he played in the first half of the season for the Steelers was old Russ. Like that was impressive. The way he played in the first 3 games of the Giants, outside of that one 4th and goal or down a distance here in the pass game, like you look at week 2, putting up 450, old Russ stats, like getting them in positions to win. Like there are glimpses. So that's why I'm saying moving off of him with those glimpses is odd at this point in time. And it's just like, no one believes in him from the get-go.
Do you think it's interesting that like what other quarterbacks who have had a career like his, like Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, have had teammates publicly bash them? And like publicly like want to come against that is not nothing. Like that's not just like, oh, poor Russ. That's like, okay, what's actually going on here? And so it's not it's like, look at all the signs and the context clues of what's going on.
I'm trying to think if there's any other, I don't, Aaron Rodgers, some, only a handful, but actually a lot.
It seems, but with Aaron Rodgers, it seems more political stuff.
Yeah. But most teammates have come out about Aaron Rodgers, like he's an awesome teammate. Even talking to Solly, he was like, "Yeah, he's great, awesome teammate."
Yeah, I think he had one public spat before all the political stuff came out with I'm forgetting the receiver that was at.
It was a receiver,
yeah. That was saying he's kind of just a jerk. sort of thing, and like not
Maybe
as
the
good as everybody
receiver was-
talks about. And it's like I agree with you. Where there's smoke, there probably is fire for Russell. And I've heard the same rumors about him, being very standoffish from his teammates and everything like that. But I think that's just like the kind of guy he is. Granted, like he probably took it a little too far. Brady was kind of the same, but he actually brought some of his dudes into his center and like put his arm around him and like worked with them.
Yes.
Whereas I think Russell just went too far in that psycho mentality direction to where it's off-putting.
Yeah, it's very off-putting. I mean, like, because everyone that plays with Brady is like, oh, that's the best guy I've ever met in my life. He'd do anything for me. He like let Antonio Brown. Didn't he let him live in his house? He's like, and Russell Wilson's like, yeah, you want to hang out? Yeah, schedule with my agent, teammate. By the way, if you guys want to hang out, schedule with my secretary. Okay. Okay. All right. So there we have that Russell Wilson situation. Let's take a look here. What people are saying are the top 10 quarterbacks currently in the NFL, just based off performance this season so far. I want to see if you guys agree with this or not. So Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Lamar, Danny Jones, Indiana Jones, Baker, Dak, Matthew Stafford, Drake May, Jared Goff, and Pat Mahomes. The only one that's throwing me on this, because I think some people, it is hard to wrap your head around. This is performance this year so far through 3 games. And that's what Dak Prescott has actually looked quite good. So I like him up there on the top 10. Drake May, I'm not sure. I haven't watched him too in depth. I did watch the whole Steelers game last week and left some room to be desired here. What do you make of this list?
As we've talked about how wins and losses need to become a quarterback stat. So that in mind, I think Baker needs to be shifted up to 3 because of what he's done the first 3 weeks, literally winning games in the fourth quarter because of his drive and competitiveness. I think that's something that's intangible that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. I think slotting him up at 3 and then dropping Lamar down to 4 and then Danny Jones to 5, I think makes more sense.
Yeah, I like that. Baker should be up there at 3. Daniel, I hope that they continue this in Indianapolis. Like, it's just, I love it. He really does. Like, it feels like it's not a fluke.
Hey.
I mean, I don't know what the remainder of their schedule looks like. Obviously, that division is one of the easiest in football. I think and with CJ Stroud playing so poorly, like it's kind of wide open there for them to grab it and take that division.
That's right. Fair. Like the one thing is what is going on in Indiana this year? In 2025, the professional sports in that city are off the charts. And I know Mikey loves to say, Indiana, where is that? I don't even know if I fly over it.
Never heard of it. I could not point it out on a map. Sorry. Don't be such a boring state where I don't know where you are.
Crossroads of America, Michael. Dude, this is nuts with the tear that they're going on in 2025. You got the Pacers in the NBA Finals, just a game away. You lose Halliburton, your superstar. You could have had the NBA Finals in your grasp. You got the WNBA team, the Fever with Caitlin Clark, all of that hullabaloo. You got the Colts performing and winning when no one knew what they were going to be based off of the culture and Anthony Richardson and all that kind of stuff. So something's going on.
Yeah. Hey, congrats to you, Indiana guy. Real quick. All right, hold on. Let's pull this up. All right. Which number is Indiana, Mike?
That's easy. I'm not even going to entertain the question by answering it. Okay, slow down. Just give me a second.
Disrespectful. All right, Indiana. This is where Scott came before.
15 is Iowa. 23 is Minnesota. And 25 is Indiana. 42 is Kansas. I mean, Tennessee.
There you go.
25. Oh, never mind. 25 is Missouri. I lived there. Wait.
Bro.
Where's Indiana? Oh, no. Illinois is 13. Indiana's 14.
Yes!
See? I remember that.
Man, we were going to have...
I used to have the whole globe. I had every single state and capital memorized and every single country and capital memorized of the whole globe as a 10-year-old. And now it's turns out you don't need it.
No, it's very unuseful. Unless your brother puts you on the spot on a podcast and asks you. And it's useful.
Yeah.
That's good.
You said you'll cut that out?
No, I was going to say, you would have to cut it out if you got it wrong because it would lose a lot of credibility for the podcast.
Yeah.
Luckily, you found your way there. So we did it. All right. What's your guys? Let's look at it real quick before we're going to talk about college for a little bit, but the slate, obviously the Thursday night game happened already. We got the Ireland game. That's why that's at 9:30 in the morning, U.S. time, the Steelers and Vikings. Which game are we most excited about? And you can't say Baltimore, Kansas City because they're both having losing records, so they suck. So it's actually not an exciting game.
I got two right off the top. Obviously, Browns versus Lions. I want to see what the Browns are going to come up with. They found a way to beat the Packers when others could not, including the Lions. So is there a way that they can find a way to take down the cream of the crop right now, the guy at the helm, Dan Campbell and Jared Goff, take them out? I would love to see that. Secondarily, I can't wait to see the Bucs versus Eagles. I think that's going to be a spectacular game.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Baker versus Jalen Hurts, that's a sick matchup.
Oh, yeah.
If the Bucs win that game, Baker should be the MVP favorite right now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
I think it's going to be much more difficult because I think Mike Evans is out this week with a hammy, which is it's tough to lose a weapon like that. I mean, we've talked about him being, 10 years straight, 1,000-yard seasons. Like, that's going to be difficult. But if anybody can find a way, it's going to be Baker.
Well, you see, I mean, I've seen like every week they're missing guys. They're playing man down. Yeah. It's just like that's the other thing about Baker. He's a football player and a competitor first, quarterback second. So it's like, adjust your game how you need to. And I think that'll be a fun one. Obviously the Ravens and Chiefs, that'll be a cool one. I'm actually kind of interested in Colts and Rams because, hey, Danny Jones playing pretty well. I would never be interested in a Colts game previously. In between after Peyton Manning, not for me. Actually, I'm also interested in the Vikings and Steelers just because those international games. Look at me, I'm going to bring the conversation about Europe. Are really
you can watch it at a normal time for yourself instead of
how fun is that?
Twilight.
It's the first NFL game in Ireland. American exporting our greatest commodity, the NFL, to the poor Europeans. We're actually giving them a pretty good game.
Yeah,
all right.
And I feel like we're taking half of the games here and saying that they're going to be really good, but you gotta talk about the Dallas Cowboys and Green Bay with Micah and Jerry coming back.
Oh yeah,
each other. Jerry in the booth, Micah on the field. That rivalry is going to be great. So, the media is going to be behind it. Obviously, they're the Sunday night game, so that's gonna be solid, I would assume. And I do have to say, okay, to this point, no, don't worry. Okay. To this point, the NFL season has been spectacular. Last week, we saw a number of games ending in final minute or fourth quarter drives, like 2-minute drills, final walk-off field goals, all that kind of stuff. We got another one with last night with the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Shout out to the Cardinals. They lost 2 weeks in a row to walk-off field goals. Like, they actually might be way better than we expected. I mean, I know we have a little bit of a West Coast bias here. I'll leave them in the dust down in Phoenix, but they actually had some fight that I wasn't expecting. So shout out to them. It's just tough to lose that way back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, well, these kickers are taking smelling salts. I mean, what can you do? Smelling salts and the sign of the cross. You're gonna make that kick. Yeah. Why don't that's going in. All right, let's pivot real quick. Talk a little about college football. So I actually did want to throw this up. I made a little film, okay, because this is perhaps the greatest weekend of college football that we have seen in years. Look at, is this too? Can you see it? There you go. Can you see the whole schedule? Multiple top 25 matchups, top 10 matchup with Oregon going to Penn State. And yeah, let me pull up. And some people, fall weddings have become more and more popular. And so I was inspired by that. And I made I went to film school. So I made a short film to indicate the type of people who have weddings. I'm filibustering while I try and pull this up. That's why I'm talking so slowly. Like Mikey when we were doing the Wonderlight.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right. Okay. POV, the worst guy is getting married this weekend. TVs at the reception. And we don't want people distracted. No. Ohio State, Washington, right. Go Buckeyes, am I right? OHIO. No, we're not going to. You can't watch the game. We're actually going to ban cell phones, too. We're going to have you put in a little bag just so people are talking to each other, right? Oh, LSU, Ole Miss. Oh, that's maybe next weekend. Alabama versus Georgia. Interesting. Yeah, well, we're going to actually have a band. So, well, you know, Stacey finds the game to be pretty violent. And it's a day about love, right? Oregon at Pennsylvania State. A top 10 matchup, right?
Pennsylvania State.
Sounds great, yeah. No, I'm sure you can see the score after. No, and if you're not there for the whole 14 hours, I'll never talk to you again. Oh, yeah. Mike, I just thought you would appreciate it.
Great. I love it.
Been held
love
hostage.
That should be viral. And everybody having weddings should see that. And it should be the new standard.
I'm hoping. All right. Let's take a look here at the slate of games. This actually is crazy. Okay. Can you see it? It's a little bit big. It's a little bit too big. Which game are you most excited about?
Ooh. I'm going to go with the contrarian view here. Iowa versus Indiana. That's going to be a snooze fest. I don't know why it's on this slate. Why are we putting that on here?
What snooze fest?
Like, are you kidding me? I mean, yeah, by record, it's going to be great. Iowa punts 7-8 times a game. So it's going to be a defensive battle. If somehow Iowa can keep the clamps and the lid on Cignetti's Hoosiers, that would be the most impressive thing. But that might be maybe a 9-6 game. That's my call right here. Secondarily, I mean, low-hanging fruit, Oregon, Penn State, that one's going to be great. I think the energy between both of those, it's at Penn State, right? So it's a Happy Valley.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, whiteout game. That's going to be absolutely nuts. Gotta get your eyes on that one. I think the next biggest one for me, it's got to be Notre Dame, Arkansas. I know Arkansas is kind of a middling SEC team, but Notre Dame's got to get back on track. They have to improve upon what they did last week and continue to go in that direction, because otherwise everything is a wash. Nothing's on the table for them if they drop this one. They got to show fight, and they got to honestly spank them to really prove their point that they deserve to be in a conversation potentially at the end of the year for CFP 12.
Notre Dame does need to start spanking teams. I think with the Oregon-Penn State game, it's interesting because James Franklin, like, the big knock on him is he cannot win the big games. Like, they are 4-20 against top 10 teams in his tenure. I think they've lost 14 in a row against top 10 teams in the regular season. The only one that they've won, I think, was against Boise State, which was like in the playoff last year, which is like, Boise State, like, did they really even deserve to be up there? I think there's a lot of pressure on James Franklin there. I think Penn State has to win that. Oregon has a little bit more leeway if they play it tight. I mean, they're on the road across the country, one of the most hostile environments there. So Dan Lanning and the Ducks have a little bit more of a wiggle room, but James Franklin has just got to win that. It's crazy to be like such a long-standing coach there in such a prominent organization, but just cannot win against good teams.
He's the Mike Tomlin of college right now. Like, just great success, but you cannot find a way to get over that hump, and it's continuing to happen. So that's tough for him. The other one, obviously, you got to shout out LSU versus Ole Miss.
That's crazy.
Everything going on there. Lane Kiffin versus good old Brian Kelly.
Did you see the thing of one of the LSU players
linebackers
dating? Yeah, one of their linebackers is dating Lane Kiffin's daughter, and they like hard launched officially on Instagram this week. Like, hey man, like psychological warfare games with the opposing team's head coach. Like, yeah, I'm dating your daughter. Man. So because of that, I'm rooting big time for Ole Miss. That was disrespectful.
That was so disrespectful. Ole Miss. Plus it's Brian Kelly. I have a hard time with LSU because, like we said, former teammate, really good friend, Adam Kleffner, offensive line coach there.
True.
I want to see them do well, especially up front. But then I got blood family at Ole Miss, so I gotta see Ole Miss Rebels come through here.
Yeah, dude, you got to go blood over friendship, right?
Yeah.
That's the rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's the rule. I think I know Lane Kiffin's pretty controversial and he gets kind of wild on Twitter and stuff, but I actually really like the guy. I think I love
great,
Lane, man. for college football. Going on you see him on like the Theo Vaughn podcast. Fantastic. So interesting. So cool. Would love to play for that guy.
What I love is he doesn't pull any punches with even Feinbaugh on ESPN or anything like that. Like he knows, like when he gets with talking heads, that dude is a savant with words. So I love everything about Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. So I'm rooting for them this weekend. All right. Let's go to another coach. This is kind of the end of an era. Not kind of. It is the end of an era in college football. Mike Gundy fired from Oklahoma State. This is crazy. He's the second longest tenured head coach in FBS football, 20 plus years. And they've been struggling this year. They're off? They're 1-3. Not great. Last year was not good. And then but the thing is, I wonder if we're ever going to see a coach like this again, because this is a guy who played at Oklahoma State, came out, was like a GA there, formed himself as a coach there as a young adult, went off and did some other coaching gigs, but then came back and has just been there forever and has been so intertwined. It's like, this is clearly his whole life. And I wonder, in the new era of college football, with so much money being thrown around and so many guys, trying to just so many different opportunities, if we'd ever see this again, a guy who's like so tied to one university for his whole life. So what do you make of this firing? And do you think that this is like the end of a certain type of coach in college football?
I think he's one of the last few standing. You got like Kirby Smart. Granted, I don't think he actually got all of his coaching experience at Georgia, but Kirby played for Georgia back in the day. Right. Now he's the head coach, winning national championships and doing really well. So like his longevity there, I think he has a long runway and long rope. Even if they do have a down year or two, which, people may say, oh, last year or this year, kind of thing, but not really. It is sad to see a Titan like this kind of go down. But at the end of the day, they've struggled to be competitive, especially toward the back half of the seasons. Last year, they had a good start, and then wheels fell off that wagon. This year just didn't even have that spark at the beginning. So, I get it. I get why they moved off of him, and they're trying to be competitive in the NIL era too. Not that Gundy didn't utilize that to his advantage. It just wasn't clicking for some reason.
I mean, it's just so hard. It's the little brother in the state. Like, also, Oklahoma is just so much more dominant. Also, like they just have not. I don't think they won a Big 12 game at all last year. I got to look at their schedule, but like it's been brutal, and it just has not. The end here has not been good. But it's crazy if you look at his tenure. He only had 2 losing seasons. Like he won 10 game seasons very, very often. Had a Big 12 championship not too long ago. But it's crazy to just see how quickly it can go. And this is a guy who dedicated his whole life there. And it's like basically 2 bad seasons, and like you're out. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I think it was time, but it is just kind of sad to see how quickly that can go.
Yeah, I get the sense that this was a lot like the Bill Belichick sort of separation, where it was just like once a losing season popped onto your record there, it was like, okay, you're on the hot seat, and we're going to move off of you quickly because you're growing long in the tooth here. You've been here long enough. Like we didn't get over the hump. We were very competitive, especially in the mid and early 2010s. But we haven't had that sort of success since. So like it's getting along in the tooth. Let's find something new. Let's shake it up and all that kind of stuff. I kind of dunked on Iowa right there, but I do respect the fact that they have stuck with Ferenz through thick and thin. Like talk about a program who's been very competitive, top 15 generally in his tenure, which has been like 30 years. And yet they have decided, look, he built a culture that we absolutely love. The fan base absolutely loves. And there's something to that's special that I do agree with you is going to start fading away quickly here in the NIL era. And we've seen it just that exponential and expedient exit for coaches is just going faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like here's the record that Gundy had. It was 2011 they won the Big 12, but like, dude, like 7-6. Yeah, last year they didn't win a game in conference at all. They were last, or they were 16th. And I just wonder if we're going to see any of those. For example, like a guy like Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State, who's like, this is my dream job. I want to be here. I grew up wanting to be the Arizona State football coach, and he is now. And it's like, I'll never leave. But if he gets an offer from Florida or Clemson.
out.
I'm out.
Yeah. I'm saying he's out.
Oh.
Like if he gets.
Oh
that.
yeah, he's out, dude. He's out.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't know if we're gonna have a Joe Paterno or a guy that's like 25 years at a no, not like that. You creeps.
Let's hope
25 years at an organization anymore. It's going to be bounce around just like NIL is for players.
Yeah.
All right. And last thing, in honor of Mike Gundy, his famous, most viral moment, I'm a man, I'm 40. Let's play it. In memoriam.
I read this article. I don't read it. This was brought to me by a mother of children. I think this is worth reading. Let me tell you why I'm talking about this article. 3/4 of this is inaccurate. It's fiction. Here's all that kid did. He goes to class. He's respectful to the media. He's respectful to the public. And he's a good kid. And he's not a professional athlete. And he doesn't deserve to be kicked when he's down. That's why I don't read the newspaper. Because it's garbage. And the editor that let it come out is garbage. Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches. That's all I got to say. Makes me want to puke.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great coach.
Dude, I love Gundy, man. Like that is the one thing he's always been about his players, and he's definitely a player's coach kind of guy. Like,
yeah,
I hate to see a university move off somebody like that, you know, who has the gumption, who has like the integrity that he does,
right.
Regardless of the wins and losses. I mean, yeah, it's been a tough 3 seasons as you showed right there in the records, but prior to that, dude, he built the program to what it is right now. And that the fact that it's recognizable when you are little brother in a state like Oklahoma, that's impressive. And he is a massive part of why that is. So,
yeah.
You know, I hate that they're doing this. You know, Dabo is also on the chopping block, and talk about the pedigree that he's had for that school and what he's done for that school. Like, I think these guys have earned a little bit more than just such a short leash in the NIL era.
That's the thing in the NIL era.
These coaches who are like dynasty program builders, it's gonna be a bit of a transition for them to adapt to the NIL era, and you have to kind of expect that with these coaches that are culture driven first.
Right? Yes, because think about it. If you were able to have such success in this specific environment of college football, and it's like this is why Saban was out. He's like, oh, this is totally different. I'm out. The landscape changed so fast that it's just a completely different world here. And some of these guys who had success previously for a dynasty, it's like, yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time to transition. Of course, they have to have the right mentality. Like I will say, Dabo, at least at the start, has not really had the right mentality in adapting to the new environment of college football. But if they are willing there, like give them a little rope, man. Give them a little loyalty.
What I do have to say about Dabo is while hindsight's 2020 and you could look at his strategy as being flawed, what I love about it is the fact that he made a calculated investment and risk in going with building culture only and not going with what felt like at the time just the wave of the now, right? And going in that direction. So I do love the fact that he's continuing to try and build his program based off of those tenets of tradition and culture, because it's going to be important, and it's going to be important for those guys who matter, those good players who matter, and that's going to be, call it the place to go, the pinnacle for those guys who actually care about that stuff. You know, I think the true pinnacle is Notre Dame, but Clemson's a good second.
There you go. You got it in there. You got it. Go Irish. All right, everybody. There we have it. We've got the best slate of college football games this weekend. Skip your friend's wedding. And if any of you guys want to hang out with me, talk to my agent. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.